there's like a little... That's like hanging out the bottom.
I tried to be nice for you.
There's a long one hanging out the bottom here.
Ow.
It's out now. There you go. We'll fix it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Liam and Joe show. It's Tuesday. It's 13:30 UK time. We're here to talk all things Warhammer for you beautiful humans. Welcome to the 87 people already that were in chat waiting for us.
You work-shy fiends.
If you're new here, if you haven't hung out with us before, welcome. If you're not chatting yet, make sure you hit all those magical buttons. Hit that like button so that YouTube knows that you like what we do. Hit that subscribe button if you're not already so that you can chat in live chat. If you're watching this on demand, please make sure you hit that subscribe button because it's free. And if you hit that bell notification icon when we do this in the future, you'll be notified. And we'll tell you when we go live. So welcome. Welcome, Jay.
Welcome.
I saw you, I hung out with you yesterday.
All day yesterday.
We played 5 hours yesterday of Call of Duty on the other channel.
Wasn't it more?
No, it was about 5 hours. So we started off about 10 in the morning and we stopped about 1 for lunch. We went live again at 2 until 5. 5? Yeah, 5. So we did it. So it's 5 hours.
And then I played from about 8 o'clock until nearly midnight.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I may have a problem.
Yeah, I didn't. I did other work-based things. So anyway, welcome back to the stream. Like I've said to you already, if you're new here, you make sure you hit those buttons. But if you're not new here, you'll know the format of these shows. I pick a topic randomly. Joe and I talk about it for about an hour. We'll take questions from you guys. Typically, it's me and Joe talking to each other. So if you want to guarantee your question gets answered, please stick it on one of those bright, colourful postcards. i.e. otherwise known as AKA Super Chats, right? Other great ways of supporting us is by becoming a member. This last Saturday, our first ever members only pre-recorded battle report went up.
Yeah.
If you're already a DZ customer, don't panic because you don't have to be a member for that one because you will already have seen it on Deployment Zone. But otherwise, if you don't want to be a DZ customer for whatever reason, and you're a Skald tier member on this channel, you get to watch that. This Saturday, another pre-record battle report, not members only.
Oh.
For everybody. Although I've got to edit it at some point.
Oh.
Exciting. Right, so there's that coming as well. We also are back to members only streaming tonight.
Yep.
And tonight's exciting because our producer tonight is loose. We're bringing in the B team. Paddy had to do what I probably should have done 10 and 5 years ago. He pulled out last minute. Yeah. So we have to bring Liz into the stream to produce for us tonight. And we have Harlequin's Black Legion. So that's another more exciting members.
The two armies that were very, very tip-top. And now,
they were.
And now, according to a small pool of data, no longer tip-top.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we were like...
Let's do that.
Let's do that, yeah.
So the other way you can support us, obviously, is by gifting memberships, which normally goes quite well on the Liam and Joe show, maybe. Yeah. If you're a grey name and you're in chat and you want to be gifted a membership because you don't want to pay for it yourself, you cheapskate fuck, ! Snipe me, and hopefully someone will gift you a membership.
Yes.
Gifting memberships is an incredible way of supporting us. What YouTube is showing us is our core number of members is still slowly and steadily increasing. And a lot of people are getting gifted memberships, realising that it's incredible quality and incredible value, and then choosing to become a member all by themselves.
We are the best.
I mean, that's a stretch, but I'll take it.
We're the best. We're better than the rest.
So today's topic for you beautiful humans, will we ever lose Firstborn Space Marines? Now, if you look at the thumbnail of this, I've used the new Desolation Space Marines, Desolation Squad Space Marines, whatever they're called.
The Disappointment Squad.
The Disappointment Space Marines, right. So that box, I believe they've told us, is up for pre-order this Saturday. And so if we look at what they are, and I've done a separate stream about what they are, which is effectively an embarrassment, but if we look at what they are in terms of Space Marines, they're basically a Devastator squad.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're not Gravis.
No.
Stupid choice. They're not Gravis.
Like all the other heavy weapon guys.
Like all the normal Mark 10 Primaris.
Yeah.
They have essentially rocket launchers that the guy who designed them was high when he drew them. But they've got essentially rocket launchers. So they're basically Devastator Marines.
Yeah.
In essence.
Yeah.
And if we look at the whole Primaris release and lineup over the course of the last, 5 years, I guess it's been now, 4 years or something. Slowly but surely, I think what we're seeing is essentially
the
replacements of Space Marines.
And I hope they do it soon.
Now,
in the nicest possible way.
They did on MetaWatch last week. They did talk about the fact that Space Marines have like 100+ data sheets in their codex, which for me and my personal opinion is just too many data sheets for a codex. And I don't know if there's any Marine player out there that will actually argue otherwise. I feel like people seem to be sat firmly on the side of, I'd rather have Primaris, I'd rather have Firstborn. What I want to know, what I want your opinion on, Joe, is do we actually think, I've got my own opinions on this, do we actually think they'll ever get rid of Firstborn Space Marines and stop selling them?
I think they will, personally, my idea is they'll keep the Mark 1 to 5 1 to 6. Corvus Armor's 6, isn't it? I think.
Corvus Armor's 6, yeah. Mark
Yeah.
6.
So 1 to 6 will be solely Horus Heresy, and then I think I hope in the new edition we'll just see pure primaris, because they don't make old Space Marines anymore in the books. They're not making.
Oh, narratively, not Games Workshop. Okay.
Narratively, they don't make old Space Marines. They don't make Firstborn anymore, and then the Firstborn are slowly being upgraded, should we say,
Yeah.
to the new ones, unless they're really, really old. But even like Asriel, that one guy who was really, 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 really against Primaris Marines, is now a Primaris Marine.
Oh, you mean that Rubicon Primaris, where it was super risky for a character to cross that Rubicon Primaris, and they might die. In fact, there's more of a chance they'd die than survive, but actually all the named characters seem to have made it.
Yeah, they're doing all right. Like, their ones died
Yeah.
along the way.
I've been waiting for the narrative writing, like Dante went to cross the Rubicon Primaris and he died.
I don't think they will.
I don't think they will.
Or they might do it and then return it. Like, it's kind of like they had a really cool storyline to begin with, and now they've realised that we've probably got a bit too many models now. We need to retcon this and go back. But like the new Azrael model looks great. He looks like every conversion model I've seen where people have used the Mephiston model and then given him the thing. Because even I did that. He looks just like that, just less cool. But he is a beautiful model. And like they just released the new Flesh Terrors book, which I listened to the other day. Wrath of the Lost, right? All about Primaris Flesh Terrors.
Okay.
The only non-Flesh Terrors character in the whole book is Gabriel Seth. And he's at the beginning, and then he's not in it for the rest of the book.
Okay.
So it's all Primaris.
Does it make sense that they haven't Primarisified Seth yet?
Well, he didn't want them in the first place. Dante basically goes, "These are yours, suck it up." Basically, like you're a chapter master with no chapter.
What?
So
So what we're saying is, in the narrative perspective,
Yeah.
is from the narrative point of view, we're not looking at there being any more created Firstborn Space Marines.
Because in the narrative, to make a Firstborn Marine, they take a child, and then they mature him over they implant him with the organs, and he grows into what is essentially a 30-year-old man over time. The Blood Angels used to do it over a period of a whole year. Sometimes it's a lot quicker than that. And then they do like 10, 20 years of scout training, and then they become a tactical marine, and then they do this, and then they do this. Whereas in the Primaris stuff, they go, take a child, cram loads of organs inside of him, and then he becomes a man through time. And then during that time, he has psycho indoctrination.
It sounds like a little bit like the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and then there's no scout training. You just become a Primaris Marine.
Okay.
Much like the Catholic Church.
So it's just a rapid.
It's a lot faster to do.
All right.
It's a lot better, and then obviously they're bigger, faster, stronger.
Yeah,
the song.
like Daft Punk.
Yeah. And then they have their specialisms that they kind of get trained whilst they're asleep.
Okay.
But then like what they had a bit of a bland start, Primaris, but they were dull.
Yeah.
Like, really dull. And they started to approach that in the narrative books. Like the Wolf Time, all the Primaris turn up to fight along the Space Wolves. And the Space Wolves, they're basic because they complain because they just fight like Ultramarines. They're really boring. They're really basic. They're really like meh. But there are characters with interesting themes, like Rabute, Gilliman's advisory, his helper is a Raven Guard, who's really sarcastic and likes to tell jokes because he's like, I don't want to be like those guys. I'll be my own man.
Those guys.
Yeah.
So narratively, we're losing Firstborn, is what we're saying.
Narratively, yeah.
So one could argue that by narratively removing Firstborn's process of creation, by getting rid of that entirely from any sort of law that's coming out now, they are setting the stage to slowly but surely wind down Firstborn in 40k. Because typically we do see model ranges in 40k and armies that releases 40k they're typically intrinsically linked to the narrative. Okay, sometimes the narrative comes out afterwards. Sometimes we see a Primaris Marine and this random shitty piece of narrative comes out right at the beginning just to sort of justify why they are what they are.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's the Votan that we see them come back, right?
Yeah.
But what we can honestly say is that normally the narrative can reflect the model range on the tabletop.
Yeah.
Now, if I would assume that if they're removing Firstborn from the narrative by dying off and not creating new ones,
or they join Chaos.
Or
That's
they
how
join
sacked
Chaos.
off a load of them. The Cicatrix Benedictum opened. Half of the Space Marines turned to Chaos.
Yeah. So
Put them into the Chaos range.
One way or another, they're no longer loyalist Firstborn Marines.
Yeah.
I think we'll then start to see them get rid of Firstborn model ranges. Now, we kind of saw it a little bit. They made this interesting choice, which for me personally, I was quite sad about this, if I'm honest with you. And knowing the way that you are with your hobby, I think you'll also be quite sad. But we used to be able to buy a tactical squad.
Yeah.
But then you could buy a Blood Angels tactical squad and you could buy a Dark Angels tactical squad. And if you did that, you had significant amounts of customizable parts.
Yeah.
And even the chess pieces were specific to Dark Angels or Blood Angels. We've not seen them do this yet with Primaris, with the exception of Black Templars.
Yeah.
They're the only ones they've done it with, which I think is quite sad. Otherwise, you get a main character that's heavily like it's got a lot of iconography from his specific home chapter. Sometimes you see like a lieutenant, like Dark Angel's got their own lieutenant, Blood Angel's got their own lieutenant, etc. Space has got their own lieutenant, the guy with the axe, which was pretty cool. Otherwise, the rest of the army just gets a fucking shoulder pad and maybe a head. And that, for me, is quite sad.
Yeah,
so we were talking about chapters for the channel and things that we're adding in the future. It's actually quite difficult because Joe and I like chapters to look like chapters rather than to look like any other Space Marine with a shoulder pad on.
Yeah.
So when you look at Dark Angels, Blood Angels, Space Wolves, it's actually very difficult, specifically without the help of 3D printed parts, to really put together something that looks like it should. So we were talking about the Flesh Terrors, for example, and I said to Joe, literally just 10 minutes ago in the kitchen, maybe longer than 10 minutes, like 20 minutes ago in the kitchen, are there any Blood Angels specific stuff that you want to add to the Flesh Terrors? He's like, well, yeah, but I don't want to use Firstborn Marines because they don't look right in a Primaris army. Right.
And also, like, we don't know the future. We don't know if they're sticking around along. Like, I want to do Death Company Intercessors.
Yeah.
Because they fit my army. But to do that, I have to buy a box of Death Company Mini Marines to use the shoulder pads and the backpacks. And then I've just got a whole bunch of models left over that I can probably use for the next 6 months. And then we just don't know about the future.
Okay, so here's an interesting question then, because we suspect 10th edition's coming this year.
Yeah.
There's no actual confirmation from GW.
Royal Mail says it is.
Royal Mail's stamps, custom stamps for this year say that 10th edition's coming this year. Whoops. But there is no real actual official confirmation from HQ that that's actually coming. Now, I suspect, my best guess is, we'll see it announced at Warhammer Fest end of April.
Yeah.
End of April announced, mid to late June release is my guess. Complete guess, based on zero fact whatsoever. GW haven't given me any information, haven't pried. It's just what I think is going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So I would suggest that to a point, 10th edition would be a reasonable, because normally as well, when there's a new edition, there is some progression in the narrative. 10th edition might be a reasonable point in time to say, hey, look, we're going to stop supporting Firstborn model ranges. It'd be very interesting if they also stop supporting the rules at that point. Like if they legends the whole Firstborn thing.
I reckon they'd legend it. Because the problem is, like, because they have said multiple times on MetaWatch, which I've got a whole different conversation about what is the point of MetaWatch. We did
that on Friday on the 40 After Dark show.
But if, like, from a business point of view, like that book is like, if they took everything that's available now, it's going to be as big as the rule book soon. But I think, like, all that's really missing currently from the Primaris range is jump pack infantry, because now we've got this new Devastator squad coming. There's a new Dreadnought coming, a close combat variant.
Yeah.
Right. So all that's missing is jump infantry,
which may have been leaked in the trailers for Space Marine 2.
Space Marine,
the video game.
And the artwork for Space Marine 2 has got assault intercessors with jump packs.
Yeah.
And then is it Joy Toy?
Yeah.
Because Joy Toy make a range of toys.
So Joy Toy and McFarlane both do.
McFarlane make toys for Games Workshop based on the existing range of models. I really want the Redemptor Dreadnought. It's massive.
Yeah.
But they may have shown off at a toy convention a whole range of Blood Angels Primaris stuff.
Yeah.
Which have got, some look blade guardy without shields, some just look like just tooled up
But
intercessors.
McFarlane have already done a Dark Angels intercessor as well.
Yeah.
With the Dark Angels filigree on his chest.
Yeah, so I think
Interesting.
like, because this happens all the time with Marvel and Lego, all the time. Lego spoil all Marvel films all the time because they know what's in the films because they've been given all the artwork to make the toys, and then Lego's like, coming out this summer, our new Lego range. Oh, there's 3 Spider-Men in that box set. Why is that? Why is that, Lego? Why is that, Marvel? And Marvel like, well, in our film there's only one. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
You know? So I think McFarlane may have let it slip. That stuff like, so there's little things slipping the net, right? And I would much rather, as a collector, coming into the game now, right, just get rid of the whole old school Marine thing because it's like it's a very cluttered. It's like if you can streamline the Space Marine range as well, it's a lot better. However, as someone who likes to paint and build models, all of my Space Marine armies end up having to be heavily customised.
So here's where I was going to go with the next part of the question. So I've given my opinion on this before. Don't worry, team. I've seen the super chats in. We'll get to you people. I've given my opinion on streams before, but I want to know what you think. Space Marines, Firstborn, Primaris. Okay. Clearly, I think no one can really argue that the scale of Primaris is better. And on the whole, the aesthetic and design, not entirely, but on the whole, is slightly better than Firstborn Space Marines.
Yeah.
However, actually, they're very different. Now, yes, they're both a Space Marine. Yes, they both have 2 wounds and 4 free-up save and toughness 4 and all that kind of stuff. But if we actually strictly look at what they do and how they work on the tabletop, they're very, very different.
Yeah.
And I am actually, here's where I stand. Here's what I would have done should I have been Games Workshop in seriousness. So, and they did this. This is what I find super interesting. They did this with Chaos. So Chaos Space Marines, the new Chaos Space Marines, the new Chaos Terminators, are all bigger than the old Chaos Space Marines and the old Chaos Terminators. They scaled them up, but they didn't replace them with a new unit.
No.
So the reason why the Chaos Space Marine book isn't double the size that it was is because they didn't say, hey, we've got Tactical Marines or we've got Legionnaires. So what we're going to do is we're going to release Mark 10 Legionnaires.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. They just went, here's the new Legionnaires.
Yeah,
Same data sheet.
And they all wear different marks of armour.
Yeah.
Like you can have a 10-man squad with 1 to 10 marks.
Now what they did with Space Marines is they went, we've got Tactical Marines, but here's Mark 10 Primaris. And here's the other thing that I'm not sure I like. I think there's an argument for it, right? And this is and we've also seen this with the new Desolation Squad that they put on the Warhamster community page yesterday, I think it was, or the day before. And this is the same with Hellblasters, and it's the same with Aggressors, and it's the same with Eradicators. So in a squad of Hellblasters, you can't take 2 heavy plasmas, 2 assault plasmas, and a normal plasma.
So I have a theory behind this.
I do as well.
Right. But mine's more of a lore-based thing.
Okay.
Right. So obviously, for everyone at home, story time with Joe. So during near the end of the Horus Heresy / Purge, right, Rabute Gilliman asked the now made-up new character Benazaris Call to make him new Space Marines.
Right.
And then he died. He had his throat slit by Fulgrim, and then had a 10,000-year-long nap, basically. And during that time, Benazaris Call just made Space Marines for 10,000 years. That's why they had loads of them in storage, but they just kind of forgot about him. Hence the reason they just appeared out of nowhere.
So he basically fucking Star Wars Clone Wars is what he did.
Yeah, basically Clone Wars it, yeah.
Okay.
So he's just been making Space Marines. So at the time when this happened, when all the children were abducted, they basically, Games Workshop took the storyline from Master Chief in Halo and crossed it with Clone Wars, and then that's how you get Space Marines. So basically, when Benazaris Call started making Space Marines, it was during the Horus Heresy, where squad-based, all the units were built up with. Here's a squad of guys with bolt guns. Here's a squad of guys with plasma guns. Here's a guy.
The thing is, Joe,
like everyone in the unit has the same thing.
I feel like from a new player perspective, it is probably better that you go, okay, I've got an assault plasma squad of Hellblasters. If we go back to my example, so they're all assault plasmas. I can fast roll the lot. They're all the same. But from a flavour perspective, old tactical squads, old Devastator squads, old assault squads, old Vanguard vets, old Stern Guard vets. From a flavour perspective, are just flat better.
Yeah, that's why Death Watch, like Death Watch Primaris, is just a bit cooler, isn't it?
I have tried 3 or 4 times to get into a custom Space Marine army for the channel because I feel like Space Marines is something. Well, in fact, I have painted Space Marines fast in the last couple of years and done a semi-decent job. And the reason why I stopped painting Space Marines is the same time. It's the same reason every time. I'm bored of them. The new Space Marines are boring. Their armour is boring. I mean, it's clean, it's nice, but when you compare it to Dark... Like, I used to have a Dark Angels army and a Blood Angels army. This is before I started the channel. And one of the reasons why I loved them, you had wings and iconography and stuff everywhere.
Yeah.
There's all individual flavour, and it's all gone now.
Yeah,
and I'm very, 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 very reluctant to lean heavily into, say, Deathwing and Ravenwing or Blood Angels Death Company and stuff, because I just feel like they're going to get removed in the next couple of years.
So like the Black Templars range is not. That's why it's so popular, because there's so much detail in it. That's why Games Workshop's losing out to these 3D printing people. Like my mate Phil has got a beautiful Minotaurs army. Just a little plug. Beyond the Tabletop. Go over there.
It's nice, Phil. Yeah, we like Phil.
We like Phil. He did the turrets for my Vanquishes.
Don't buy them, they're terrible.
But he does upgrade packs. Because he basically made this stuff for his Minotaurs, and he's like, people like it. So he's made massive Spartan style big round shields to replace the Blade Guard ones. He's made the Patergos.
Use your words.
The leather strappy things that Spartans have.
Okay.
The scar, like the things that go down there.
Yeah.
Like he's made those
Man skirts.
Yeah, man skirts. Like, which basically they're resin, and basically you warm them up and then you can bend them, which gives it a bit more flavour. You know.
Right.
Flavour. Like Games Workshop need to start injecting a bit of that into the ranges.
So okay, right, cool. So if we go back to the Chaos Space Marine conversation, when we talked about that they scaled up these, they scaled up all your Space Marines. Your Bannerman fell over. They also scaled up, obviously, Thousand Sons and Death Guard, right? And why are they so popular? Because they're covered in detail from their individual legion. Now, I have to say, like, I have a whole World Eaters army that I'm not using because the new World Eaters are just so nice. And they're very World Eaters. They're covered in World Eaters shoulder pads and
I think it
logos.
comes from the storytelling side of things. Like in films and books and stuff, people like baddies more. Because their storyline is so much better.
I think when it comes to a hobbyist though, so let's face it, right? There are a percentage of people, and I don't think they're very big, but there are a percentage of people that couldn't give a flying fuck what colour their Space Marines are. They'll use whatever chapter they think is the strongest at the time, and they'll put them on the table because they're playing competitively.
Yeah.
But that's a small slither. The majority of us, we've got 220 people watching right now. The majority of people watching, I would imagine, do care about what their army looks like and that they're telling their own story. Whether they've customised something like Minotaurs, whether they've gone hard down the Dark Angels, Blood Angels route, whether they've gone Death Guard or Thousand Sons, whatever they're doing, I feel like people go, I want my army to feel like it's my army and that it's not just something, like I don't want to buy an army. I'm working on Eldar right at the moment, and I've done a lot of work individualising things like Dire Avengers because I don't want to just field an army. Why do so many people buy custom bases? Because I don't want my Space Marine to look like someone else's Space Marine over the It's something that goes, this is definitely mine.
Games Workshop have proved that they can make really nice custom bases, like the whole Shadespire range or Warhammer Underworlds, isn't it? Shadespire, the whole range of Warhammer Underworlds, every single model is on a custom molded, beautiful, crisp base.
Our whole World Eaters range are on March of War bases, right? Our whole World Eaters range are on March of War bases. I own a load of bases from Unreal Wargaming Studios. I've also bought bases from Tiny World Studios in the past. I think it's Tiny World Studios that my Kriegers are on, which look like old cobblestones from World War I France, right?
Yeah.
I love custom bases. Why? Because I can stick a Krieger on a custom base, and it will be enough to look different to your Krieger that you've bought that you put on a different base. It makes it stand out. Makes it my army.
That's why Anvil is doing really well for like the new Guard releases as well. Like the moment those new Cadians came out, there were new upgrade packs for Praetorian Guard with the the little epaulets and the piff hats and stuff, or you could like tech them up with cool helmets with night vision goggles and susats and like hollow sights.
Susats, yeah.
Susat.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There's a man who used one. It's a Susat, Jay. Right, I'm going to jump in chat very quickly because we have had a couple of super chats already. Only a couple. No gifted members, whatever. Holio, here's £10 towards Liam's, Joe's and Lucy's beard care products. Wow, I'm going to tell her you said that. Also, Firstborn will die off outside of horror territory. Yeah, I think they will. So this is where I'm going with it. Right? I actually think they will. I think they will kill off Firstborn.
It's like,
I think they're going to remove them. But I'm actually kind of sad about it because I missed hey, here's a tactical squad and I have a flame and a last cannon. And here's a devastator squad and I've got a plasma cannon and a heavy bomb. From a gaming perspective, especially at tournaments, it slows it down and it's a bit like, I'm going to fire this last cannon there and this heavy bomb there. But I actually missed that
what I want to
variety.
See, right? So when the new edition comes and maybe they get rid of old school Space Marines, what I want to see is old school Space Marines as individual characters, right?
Okay.
So when they found a new chapter, right, they basically, a lot of them get given a Firstborn Space Marine who is a captain as an advisory person.
Yeah.
To kind of lead them along and give them combat knowledge or teach them the ways of the parent chapter. So you had the Grey Shields, which is an entire army made up of every single Loyalist Legion at the time. So you'd have a 10-man Hellblaster squad with an Imperial Fist,
But you said it yourself. This is what people like the Death Watch.
Yeah. So you'd have the whole 10-man squad, all with the same guns, but from their whole armour would be painted in the... So you'd have a squad that was yellow, blue, grey, red, and then their shoulder pad would be grey. And then once they caught up, the Indomitus Crusade caught up with that specific chapter, they'd fill up the chapter and then they'd make new successor chapters out of the remaining people. But then they'd go, Gilliam would be like, here is a Firstborn Imperial Fist, go with your Imperial Fist friends and teach them the ways of becoming a new chapter. Like the new Flesh Tearers book, Gabriel Seth sends an ambassador with them to Cretaceous, the home planet. So whole Flesh Tearers company goes with one dreadnought, an old Spudnaught, basically, to teach them the way. So I want to see cool special character dreadnoughts.
I actually kind of wish there was rules for Grey Shields. So if you listen to Indomitus Crusades, I think it is those three books. Indomitus Crusade, three.
I think there's three.
Yeah.
And then it became the...
Because that starts off with Grey Shields, essentially, right? Yeah. And they know they're all from parent chapters, but they're all fighting as well. And eventually they get allocated to their chapters, and some of them are quite sad because they get to go to a successor chapter rather than their parent chapter, etc. But that was like, make rules for Grey Shields. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think there was, in one of these books here, the Warzone Kakarradon, there was a Death Watch specialist... what they're called, right? Not a war specialist attachment. What are they called? Regiment of Renown.
Army of Renown. Yeah.
Army of Renown. The Death Watch one, basically, you have a whole Death Watch army, and every turn, you keep there's a chapter tactic to keep the Xenos Hunter's ability, but every turn you have to pick a new chapter tactic for your army. So turn 1 you're an Ultramarine, turn 2 you're a White Scar, turn 3 you're an Imperial Fist, turn 4 you're a Salamander. Right? And you've kind of got that in the new Black Legion one. There's a stratagem to make that squad have that Legion trait.
You had it in Custodes as well, actually.
Yeah, I think that would have been really good for a Grey Shield's army.
I don't know, Joe. I feel like I don't want Primaris and Firstborn because I think there's too many data sheets. But I'm also a bit because I my personal opinion is much like Armholio, they are going to get rid of Firstborn. I think that's going to happen. If I'm honest, I would urge anyone who's looking at purchasing Firstborn to really think about your purchase. So if you know you want this after they get rid of them, then go and buy it. But if you're not sure, be careful because they can be a bit ruthless with just removing model ranges. So if we look at some of the things they've done over the course...
Doom Kings.
Well, yeah, Bretonnians.
Bretonnians, like, poof, gone.
Yeah. Hey, so that's super expensive metal army that you own.
Yeah.
No more, right?
Like, the whole Krieg range. Right.
Even down
they've
to
got rules, but they're not available.
even down to individual units like Chaos Lords with jump packs gone, right?
Yeah.
So even individual units within specific codexes. So if you are thinking about buying it, but you think you'll be a bit upset or pissed off if they remove them, really think about this purchase, because I personally believe they are going to remove them based on zero fact, just my honest opinion. And I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen in 10th edition. It's, like you've said yourself, right? The lore is winding up that way. We're seeing 0 releases for normal Firstborn Space Marines, really.
The only time we see Firstborn Space Marines get released in any capacity is the Warhammer Heroes line.
Yeah.
Which has the best
Or-
Terminator models ever.
Or, and this is where I think they're going to go with it, Horus Heresy.
So you won't see anything after Mark 6.
No, you won't, absolutely, because of when Mark 6 was around during the Horus Heresy.
Well.
But nonetheless, for Firstborn, that's good, and which will piss people up that have got Mark 7, Mark 8, right?
I don't think they'll bother. I think they'll just discontinue those lines.
I think they will. That's exactly what I think they will do. But people that have got Mark 7, Mark 8, what do? The thing is, right, okay, here's my other problem with it. You have a Mark 7 tactical squad, right, which is the most common, probably seen tactical squad in the whole of 40k forever, Mark 7 tactical squad. And you've built your Mark 7 tactical squad with a flamer, and your sergeant's got a lightning claw, and your heavy weapon is a plasma cannon, and I'm just throwing random things out there. Cool, okay. So they now remove all of the old Firstborn stuff off their website, and they stop rule support. It all goes to Legends, right? What do you do with that Mark 7 tactical squad now? Because you can't run it as an intercessor squad because you've got a plasma cannon, a flamer, and a lightning claw. And this is where what they did with Chaos was beautifully well done on the whole, because hey, your old Legionnaire squad of old Space Marines, you can still field it as a new Legionnaire squad. It won't look as nice, in my opinion, it won't look as nice as the new ones, but actually you'll be able to find ways of using them in your army. But for Firstborn Space Marines, this is something that I think they need to consciously either be like stop it from happening, or this is where GW being open and road mapping the things that are coming would be very vital to people. Imagine if you go out there and you look at Space Marines, and you think, well, I want to play Space Marines. These people exist. They're very rare, Joe. These people exist. I want to buy Space Marines, but I actually don't like Primaris. I only like Firstborn. And let's say they drop 300 quid and they buy Stern Guard and Vanguard, because Stern Guard are fucking sexy models, and they buy Vanguard Veterans, and they buy Tactical Squads, they buy Devastator Squads.
Yeah.
Right? And they do all these things, and they buy the old Ultramarines Command Squad, and they go, hey, here's my Firstborn army. And then Games Workshop in 2 months go, oh, we're not selling them anymore, and we're not supporting their models.
I think
with no warning. That's the thing. There's never a warning when they do this. They just delete it.
Like the new guard Sentinel and heavy weapon teams and stuff.
Yeah, with a massively different base size.
Massive different base size, and different size model. Like I've got the old Sentinels because I absolutely love the old Sentinels, but they are a third smaller than the new Sentinel with a smaller base.
So, but at least you could probably buy base extenders from a third-party site somewhere, and they'd be relevant. You can still use them. They haven't just removed Sentinels from the book.
What I'd like to see then is 2 Codex Space Marines. Codex Firstborn, Codex Primaris. And then you've got, because you've got 1 edition, so 10th edition, you have both. 11th edition, you Legends the book.
Which is fine.
You have so people have an adjustment period of going, but my army is separate.
But you have to communicate that. Like, okay, so I think Warhammer Fest in April, they're going to announce 10th edition. Right? If they got to Warhammer Fest in April and said, hey, look, 10th edition is coming, and it's coming late June. Warn you now, we will be removing Firstborn from our website, and we will be removing rule support from Firstborn. That's just 2 months. It's still better than the way they currently do it. And if they did that, and again, I'm getting angry about something that it's hypothetical. We don't know this is going to happen.
They sell it up to the day where it changes.
But this is hypothetical. It might be that 10th edition hits, and actually we've still got as much Firstborn as we've got right now. Like, that's actually a possibility. Let's be honest. Like, I wouldn't put that past them either. So hypothetically, if they're going to do what they've done in the past, sell, Saturday, we're not making them anymore.
Yeah.
What? Hey, what? Like, the amount of people, like you said it yourself, right? They legend so much Krieg stuff like that and didn't tell anyone, who are buying like £80 Krieg squads from Forge World that then suddenly are no longer usable. That's, I mean, excuse me, it's daytime television, I know, but that's a cunt's trick.
Yeah.
Innit?
But then, like, the new Primaris range is very pretty. Apart from the new Disappointment squad, the whole Primaris range as a whole has been very, very, very nice.
Okay.
What?
I hate Inceptors.
Inceptors.
I hate the transport floaty tank things.
I quite
I
like
hate
the Impulsor range.
The new T-shirt launches.
Oh no, I said apart from the Disappointment Squad,
The embarrassment.
the Hooters T-shirt launches.
Yeah, I'm not sure we needed 732 lieutenants, but you know,
They're cool though.
are they though?
But I love the whole Phobos range. The problem is it's all terrible rules, but
Well, this is the other thing with Space Marines in general, right? Space Marines are the poster boys for 40k. And I've said, hey, maybe one of the reasons why they've all got the same weapons in Space Marine squads in the Primaris range is because it's easy for new players. Which would be fine if a new player playing with Space Marines wasn't probably going to get his dick kicked in every game.
Well, no, because
they're just terrible.
Hands,
But wow. Because we look at the 7 bottom fucking factions in 40k right now, and a lot of them are Space Marines. Right, Chaotic Failure, thank you for the donation, you hero. They can cut down loads of character data sheets and just have one for each. Then points upgrades for Termi, Gravis armor on bike with Melter, etc. I mean, I wouldn't be against that. I actually really like your idea, by the way, of a Firstborn Codex and a Primaris Codex.
So I've made for my Flesh Terrors, I've got 2 Firstborn characters in it.
Yeah.
I've got a Lord in Terminator or Captain in Terminator armor because it's Relic Terminator armor, and then I've got one Librarian in Terminator armor because I painted him ages ago.
Okay.
And it was a limited edition model, and I kind of want to find a use for it.
Thank you, Clever Watson. I'm late to the show. Is that the ODB I see over Joe's shoulder? Death Guard coming. That is Mortarian, but I don't think Death Guard are coming. Well, I don't know, because Chris is painting Death Guard.
He is painting them at a rate of knots.
He's painting them
They
quickly.
won't be as nice as that. But
No, that was painted by my friend Lee and
but
lent to us.
but they will be green and bronze. I
Yes.
can assure you that those colours will be on the model.
Yeah, probably somewhere. Maybe.
I've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
They have got paint on plastic.
They'll have all the right colours, just not necessarily in the right places.
Yeah.
And then thank you, Big Bad Peter Gaming, who's just stuck in there. What will happen to Blood Claws, Grey Hunters, Grey Knights, and other named Firstborn units? Well, this is my big concern, Big Bad Peter Gaming, because I suspect. So this is where we may actually. So let's think about this logically. Maybe we will see a transition period through 10th edition, because I feel like if at the moment, if we take 40k in its current place, even with the new Disappointment Marines and the new Dreadnought, if they then wiped all the Firstborn off, there is so much flavour going from all of the individual chapters.
They've got a few problems in terms of how do you retcon certain things to work for your new model range. So Blood Angels, easy. The Tyranids ate them all, basically, right? Unless you're a special character, unless you're a named person with plot armor, you've been eaten by a Tyranid, and Gilliman has gone, here's a new army of Primaris Marines. Have at it, you know? Like armies like the Emperor's Spears and all that lot, they were basically killed lots of them, and then they were given the data on how to make new Primaris Marines quickly. So they fixed that one. Ultramarines, there's like in the Reign of Fire, Storm of Fire book.
Yeah, Storm of Fire.
Storm of Fire books, basically, there's like 100 Ultramarine successor chapters now. There's more that they're just popping up all over the place. But then you've got like Imperial Fists. They're quite comfortable. They've been comfortable making Firstborn for a while now.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're a bit stretched, and now they've got more reinforcements. So they'll make Primaris Marines because they're easier to make, but there's still going to be thousands of Imperial Fists everywhere. Same for Space Wolves. The Space Wolves, when the Grey Shields turned up to Fenris,
I still feel like current narrative isn't enough protection.
well, you've got the Hounds of Morkai. That's all the flavour Space Wolf needs. That 1 5-man unit of Phobos, guys.
I still feel like, this is the thing, right? So I get what you're saying, but I still feel like current narrative isn't enough protection, because they have shown in the past that current narrative means nothing because they want to wipe a load of... Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, we've changed our mind, that's not how it works. Which I like the fact that they're not overly protective of historical narrative. I kind of like that. I kind of like the fact that games... Like, I'm not a person who will criticise them for going, this isn't working for us, or it's not going to work for this new model range. So we're just going to... It's our law. We're just going to change it.
They could basically create... So you've got Horus Heresy and you've got 40k. The Horus Heresy storyline is winding down now. You've got the last 3 books.
Yeah.
And obviously they've just released the new Horus Heresy rules. So Black Library now need to have a new best-selling novel series.
Yes, they do.
So the next logical step is the scouring, because
Yeah.
that's when you mark 7s, you mark 8 start turning up, basically. So then you've got maybe potentially have a new game system for all the space. What they'll do is they'll release a 2 army box set.
Let's not do that, Jay.
Which is a whole space, all the old Space Marine plastics, and it'll be on some cardboard tiles with hexes on them, and you move your little squads around hexes, and that's your new game.
No. That's not total crack, Jay.
Yeah, like the Burning a Prospero box.
No. I don't want another gaming system for Space Marines.
But the rules would be terrible.
Yeah,
It'd just be another way of selling off models that are stuck in a warehouse that they can't get rid of. Or blind boxes will come back, and you'll find a lot of Firstborn Marines in there.
I just don't. I don't see, because they've gone down this route of introducing a new version of Space Marines with Primaris that isn't just an upgraded model range for tactical Marines. I just can't see.
But I suppose it's inevitable, because you had the.
Yeah, but I still can't see a nice way out of this for people.
There isn't, but it's not like you had the RTBO1s, the original Beaky Space Marine plastics. That was like 25, 30 years ago. But those were inevitably replaced by those Space Marines. Those ones.
T-shirt Marines.
Yeah. They were replaced by these Space Marines. And that was 20-something years ago. And then a couple of years later, those were phased out by the multi-part plastics. And then you don't see those anymore.
So that's fine. Right, that's not right. Phasing out a model
The problem
range.
is the internet didn't exist then. People like us didn't exist at those times.
Phasing out, no. Right, but hear me out, Jake. Phasing out a model range to replace it with a new model range for the same data sheet is one thing, because typically people can use those old models. If you went if you bought a squad of old Space Marines like this, could you still use them in the current codex? Yes. You could take them as a tactical squad. I don't know why you would, but you could.
You do get people. You do get that proper weirder Warhammer world that's running them.
But what I'm saying is, you could use them currently. Okay, cool. So then, you've got the missile launcher on the shoulder guy with his little hand like this, right?
Yeah.
That guy as well, right? Okay, so we've got 8 guys with the little bolters like this, and 1 missile launcher like that, and the weird flamer dude as well. Okay, you remember all the ones I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, and you can use them right now. Cool. They remove Firstborn Marines from the codex. Can you still use them?
No.
No.
Well, you could use them in Heresy.
Well, this is my problem. In the past, Eldar Guardians. When the new Eldar range came out, they completely replaced Eldar Guardians. And the new Eldar Guardians are scaled up from the old Eldar Guardians. They are so much prettier. They're on 28mm bases instead of 25, or at least I think the Aspect Warriors are. Right, same as Banshees. They're on 28mm bases, so much better than the old flying cast Banshees. Can I use my old metal and flying cast Banshees? Yes. Can I use my old plastic Guardians? Yes. Are any of them completely removed from the codex by changing data sheets? No, I can use all of those things.
I do think it's all recyclable plastic, though.
But
So you could recycle them. Games Workshop could do an exchange fund where you just recycle plastics.
But this is my point. If you have these old models and you're replacing them with new models but you're keeping the data sheet the same, you don't really piss people off. They go, oh cool, I've got new sculpts, but the stuff that I've built and painted and collected, I can still use it. When you do this thing where you go, hey, here's your new sculpts, which are completely different to your old sculpts, and actually we're making a whole different data sheet. Now, if you're still giving them the old data sheet, they're like, well, I can still use it. But if you remove that data sheet, they go, well, what? I've spent money on this.
Yeah, but they've been doing it. Like I go back to the same guy, that guy who posted 20 pictures of Night Lords with jump packs. So the whole, these are all Raptors now.
So I accept they've done this forever. It doesn't make it any better for the consumer.
No, but they like money.
All right, okay,
This is a business thing,
right?
Isn't it?
Okay.
So basically, the people that have been, we've been playing for 20+ years now.
So they like money, right? They like money.
Yeah.
When they bought the new Avatar out, did I get the new Avatar?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did I have an old Avatar?
Probably.
Yes, I
Most
did.
likely,
Yes.
I think.
When they bought the new Banshees out, did I get new Banshees? Did I have old Banshees? When they brought out the Dark Reapers, did I get new Dark Reapers?
Yeah.
Did I have the old Dark Reapers?
Yeah.
So people are still going to buy the kits.
Yeah.
You don't need to change the rules for it.
Yeah.
Well, and even if you change the rules, you don't need to completely remove a unit's ability to exist.
What will happen is Games Workshop are relying on the people that did it for Warhammer Fantasy, because there's that rule set, the old world. So all the people that didn't like AOS, that can't play with their Bretonians and their Tomb Kings, just carried on playing the edition that they preferred the most, and that seems to be relatively thriving.
So here's the thing, right? So you said they like money. One of the reasons why they might change rules is because they like money. Okay, I had a friend who played Fantasy. He played 8th edition Fantasy, and I started to introduce him into 40k. Okay, and I started to bring him in to play 40k. Very close friend of mine, love him very dearly. When they switched from 8th edition Fantasy, and he was an avid fantasy player who spent a lot of money on Fantasy, and they switched to AOS, and he had a full Bretonian army, he sold it and quit Fantasy. He quit. He stopped playing Fantasy, he stopped playing AOS. So he was playing and buying AOS and 40k, and he stopped AOS and just played 40k. And he didn't, interestingly, increase the amount of 40k that he was buying to kind of come in line with how much he was buying on Fantasy. He just stopped it because they pissed him off so much for an army that he spent a lot of money and a lot of time on. They pissed him off so much, he just basically stopped being a Fantasy customer altogether. And they're at this risk. I felt they're at this risk with Firstborn Marines, and it's not just Firstborn. This could happen in 10 years' time with other armies as well. But I felt there's a risk of them when they go, we're just going to remove this army from the whole of 40k, or whatever it is, from AOS or from Heresy or whatever, where people go, I spent a lot of time and money on it. It's not a Chaos Law with a jump pack. It's not one model that they've removed here. We're all about them potentially moving essentially an army's worth of data sheets. That's a lot for a person to lose access to.
But then I suppose, are those people gonna buy more models in this? Say you've got old school Space Marines now. You haven't invested in Primaris Marines because you don't like Primaris Marines. You don't like the story. You're like, no, 5th edition is where I live. I go no further, right? And then they legends your army, right?
Yeah, right.
Right. That person wasn't investing in Primaris Marines anyway.
No, correct.
So, Games Workshop's making as much money from before as they are now from that person. Whereas you will get people who are like, I'm heavily invested in Warhammer. I want to continue to play Warhammer. I will just buy the new models and shelve.
Okay.
Because I absolutely fucking love Battlefleet Gothic. It doesn't exist anymore.
No, but this is it. And here's the problem. Here's the real problem. It does exist.
It does exist.
It's just not. It does exist. You can go out there and find and play Battlefleet Gothic. But it's not Games Workshop.
Just a whole game.
Games Workshop aren't making any money off of it.
No.
Because other people have got rules, and now there are ways and means in which you can get hold of Battlefleet Gothic ships.
I think that will happen with old school Space Marines. Everyone will just go, I'll just play 5th edition. That the same people like I loved Battlefleet Gothic. I loved Fantasy. I loved More Time. I didn't really play much of it, but then I really loved Blood Bowl as well. And then that went away. Obviously, it's come back now. Since same for Necromunda, but even Epic. That's
I think this is a different set of circumstance. So when Battlefleet Gothic goes, it's a game system that goes, right, essentially. And so people will break off and play their own version of Battlefleet Gothic, and they'll 3D print ships, and they'll get hold of old rules. When Fantasy died off, that was a whole game engine going. Because let's face it, although AOS is in the fantasy setting, as in it's bows and arrows and elves and goblins essentially, it's a completely different game system. It isn't even remotely close to similar to old 8th edition fantasy. For those of you that don't know, some of you may have only got involved in Games Workshop in the last few years. 8th edition fantasy was based around elves and goblins, but they were actually elves and goblins rather than Sylvaneth and Ideneth and all those kinds of things, right? And what Fantasy was big blocks of infantry that you would wheel round and you would rank and file, and I loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I really enjoyed old Fantasy. And they took that whole rule set, threw it in the fucking bin, and with AOS they just started again, right? So what we're talking about with people that are still playing 8th edition Fantasy and playing Old World, and people that are still playing Battlefleet Gothic, is we talk about people that lost their whole game system and have found a way to keep playing that game system. With Space Marines, if they kill off Firstborn, we're not losing a whole game system. So you might find that there is a percentage of Space Marine players who goes, no, fuck 40k, I'm not playing 10th edition now if they get rid of old school Space Marines. I'm going to go find loads of other people. apart from everybody still now playing 10th edition,
Yeah.
because their armies have still got all the support. We're not
Yeah.
losing a game system. We're potentially just losing like I said, a codex's worth of data sheets in terms of Firstborn Space
They
Marines.
might go the way of the Harlequins, so they become an own faction within their faction. So
Maybe.
So you could take a patroller. Like you might find that you can have a tactical squad, a devastator squad, an assault squad, a captain, a chaplain, librarian, and then dreadnoughts, and that's it. Like they just want to make clear space in the warehouses.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
CAK, thank you, Liam, from all the rumours for 10th. Do you feel like it's going to be closer to AOS or close to AOS? I feel like it will be closer to AOS, and me personally, I'm not for this.
No,
I don't want to go this way. Now, I think if we look at the last 5 to 10 years, it could be argued that on occasion, AOS has been a bit of a testing bed for rules that have then come into 40k. So if you look at some of the things that exist in 40k, command points essentially was a mechanic that was originally started in AOS and different and made different, but essentially similar for 40k. Mortal Wound started in AOS. So a lot of things that started in AOS that we've then seen port across to 40k. Okay, so I think it could be argued that on occasion in the past they've used AOS as a testing bed for 40k and then ported some of the rules across, adapted them slightly, and brought them to 40k. There's a huge rumour out there. If you go on to, for example, the 40k subreddit, there's a huge rumour out there about 10th edition. One of the rumours, for example, is that they're going to remove toughness from models, and so you just have a flat wound roll. So if you're shooting your bolter at an elf, a guardsman, or a demon, you're wounding on a 4+, no matter what.
Right.
So this is how it works in Heresy, not in Heresy, in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah.
So in Age of Sigmar, you have a 2 hit roll, a 2 wound roll. You don't have a ballistic skill, a strength, or weapon skill. You just have a hit roll, and you just have a wound roll. So you'll have, for example, Stormcast typically will hit on a 3+, and typically wound on a 4+. And if they've got a bigger, more powerful weapon, they might wound on a 3+. And then you've got a rend characteristic, and you've got a damage characteristic. That's right, I've been on Age of Sigmar, right? So that's just a flat, that's it. So it doesn't matter what you hit. It doesn't matter whether you're Stormcast, who hits with his hammer on a 4+, and wounds with his hammer on a 4+. Doesn't matter whether he hits a ghost. Doesn't matter if he hits an ogre. Doesn't matter if he hits a demon prince. Doesn't matter if he hits a bloodthirster. He wounds on a 4+. I'm against that. No. Simplicity-wise, and bringing in new players, it could be argued this is better. It's better accessibility. But I don't like the loss of that flavour. I think it becomes more arcadey and comes away from some of the tactical nuance of, I have melter guns here. What do I want to shoot these at? Where are they going to be most effective?
Yeah, I think like in Age of Sigmar, they've got some good balance. Like I know a lot of guys who play 40k that are a bit bored of 40k now, and they've gone over to AOS. And I've watched it play, and I watched battle reports, and what's happened is you've got an army over here, an army over here, and then you've got objectives on the table, but you just go, and then you fight in the middle.
Yeah.
And then you just roll dice until everyone's dead. But because Age of Sigmar is primarily a combat-based thing, plus, in a fantasy game, a sword is a sword, an arrow is an arrow. Essentially. You might have magic arrows, which work a little bit better, or a magic sword. But everyone's just using flint and steel and wood sometimes. So it's a lot easier to do. And 40k is a shooting game. There is shooting in Age of Sigmar, but if you shoot something, it's one shot does big damage, or little shot, small damage, but lots of it. Whereas in 40k, there's a massive mixture of lots in the middle. So, whereas in AOS, a unit can shoot, and it could be good at shooting, but the moment you touch it in combat, it just evaporates. It's gone. Yeah. Whereas in 40k, that'd be really difficult to manage. Oh, my Banshees now are still just as tough as everyone else, but they're just more devastating when they're in combat. But if you look at Space Marine, right, the Chaos Space Marine range, everyone's wearing power armor. They're either good in combat or they're good at shooting, but they're the same toughness across the board.
I don't know. I don't. The thing is, I feel like there's a point where we need to ensure that AOS and 40k are separate rule sets.
Yeah, I like the Heresy rule set. Like, it works really, really well.
I love the Heresy rule set.
I just don't want to learn it because that book gives me a headache when I try and read it.
The book is laid out by a blind octopus.
Yeah.
But the actual rule sets itself is better, I think, than 8th edition, 9th edition.
I'm in a couple of group chats, and the guys who play Heresy seem to be having more fun than anyone else.
So there's a couple of things in chat as well that are saying, actually, it's not more like AOS, it's more like one-page rules, where you don't even roll a wound, you just roll a hit.
Yeah.
And then you take saves. I'm against it. I don't like
Yeah.
that. I don't like that personally.
Yeah.
And yes, it's simpler. Yes, it's easier. I don't like losing
it's
a lot of
kind of
flavour.
I like bolt action, but in that game you've got a rifle, submachine gun, sniper rifle, pistol, machine gun, light machine gun.
Again,
they're all the same. But you roll to hit. Your hit variable is based on what you're targeting. So basically everyone in the game in bolt action, because you're all trained soldiers, hits on a 3+, right? If they're over half range, -1 to hit. If they're in light cover, -1 to hit. If they're in dense cover, -2
this
to
is
hit.
stackable as well.
So it's stackable. So if you're behind a stone fence, my range is 24 inches, but I'm shooting at you 14 inches away, it's -3, so I hit you on 6s.
Yeah, and you can get to a point where you need to roll a 6 followed by another 6.
Yeah. So, and then once you've shot at your target, because it's still hard to hit people. Once you've hit your target, it's then based on what level they are, which is inexperienced, regular, veteran, and then inexperienced you wound on a 3, regular you wound on a 4, veterans you wound on a 5, and that's not because they're tougher. It's because they know how to use cover better.
But
once that's gone through, there's no save roll.
But we're talking about humans on both sides.
Yeah.
Same bullets on both sides, basically.
Yeah.
Similar-ish weapons: LMGs, SMGs, pistols, rifles. Right.
Yeah.
So you can do that
Yeah.
because you're hitting the same.
But in 40k, it's just not doable.
It's not viable,
No.
really.
So rolling less dice is bad. Like I prefer, like nowadays, I did say on stream the other day, I prefer auto wound on 6s over 6s explode, because you have to start counting in loads of dice and stuff like that. But that is on a roll of a 6. That's like the new critical hit, basically.
The only way I can see it working in my mind at the moment, because let's be honest with your team, right? If they bring out 10th edition, they do this. Let's say they remove rolling to wound, or they bring in an AOS flat wound roll. Let's be honest, we're going to keep playing 40k.
Yeah, there's no stopping that.
There's no stopping that. So whatever they do, we will be playing it with you guys. That's going to happen no matter what. I feel like the only way that they make this work, so if we look at the potential mechanic of you don't even roll a wound, the only way they make that work is if they start removing their hit on 2s, reroll everything. Like they'll need to remove a lot of rerolls.
We both agree on this, is that you only get character-based benefits if the character's in the squad.
Well, here's something I used to do. I did a series of Instagram reels talking about my wants for 10th edition, and I would say every character that's got an aura of reroll 1s to hit or reroll 1s to wound or whatever, I would remove it entirely. I'm conscious I'm playing World Eaters who have Juggernaut Lords with +2 to inch auras. I'd remove all those auras and every single. And this is a quick fix for a codex. So they can do. If they change the rule set, they can do this very, very quickly. Any aura change from a 6-inch aura to pick a core unit within 6 inches.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a Lord on a Juggernaut in World Eaters who at the moment everyone within 6 inches who's a core unit gets +2 inches to move. Change that to that unit of 8 bound gets +2 inches. You all don't get it.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about bringing in a mechanic where a character joins a squad, a la 7th edition. You don't have to worry about that mechanic.
Yeah.
You just change aura of 6 inches to pick one unit.
Yeah.
And if you do that. So you go, okay, we're going to change Gullyman to picking, or Abaddon to picking one unit to reroll hit rolls of 1, right? Then you don't have a scenario where you've got 8 squads and dreadnoughts and all kinds of shit rerolling all hits. And then if you are removing the wound roll, because the problem I have with removing the wound roll in the current version of rules is there are a lot of people that just go, well, I'm firing 1,000,000 bullets, rerolling all my hits, and you're just taking saving throws.
Yeah.
I'm skipping a step where I could fail to wound you.
But currently, if you look at Space Marines, you can have 6 shooting squads. You can have a medic, a lieutenant, a chapter master, captain, lieutenant, a banner, and a chaplain. You have 5 characters stood in the middle of all 8. All the squads are rolling to hit. All the squads are re-rolling to wound. They've all got a 6+ invulnerable save.
Yeah.
They've all got a 5+ feel no pain. They've all got a 6 feel no pain for something like. And
it's silly.
Everything's always on all the time. Whereas if you go, that squad gets this squad gets that squad gets that, which you actually get, which is a lot more, which is happening a lot more within the World Eaters. I like the fact that
we'll get to that one in a minute.
I like it. Just pick a squad, gets it done.
Yeah. Thank you for Breezer27. Breezer? That's right, yeah. As someone who plays his Firstborn from 3rd edition, started set as a custom chapter, the Brotherhood of the Storm, who emerged after being lost in the warp since the Horus Heresy and don't know their founding chapter, please no, he says. I think it stops there at please no. So I think what we're saying here is he doesn't want them to get rid of...
no.
He doesn't want them to get rid of Firstborn. I do and I don't. I'm in a really torn place. So I want them to get rid of it because I think the Space Marine book is in a bad place. And I think one of the reasons why the Space Marine book is in a bad place is because there's 1,000 data sheets and it's impossible to balance it all. And it's just not probable.
They all do kind of the same thing. Some do it better, some do it worse. Like I was looking at I might put Vanguard vets into my army, but they've got less attacks than an Assault Intercessor.
Yeah.
Or Firstborn Space Marines have got bolt guns, but for some reason, despite firing just the same bullets.
But we are in a place where Vanguard vets still kind of have a place because they can take jump packs.
Yeah.
So they're kind of useful right now. And actually, you see lots of Vanguard vets in competitive lists because they can run jump packs.
I was thinking the other day, just getting a box of Assault Intercessors and then putting jump packs on them.
Yeah, and then you're just ready for when they come out anyway.
Just future-proofing them.
Big shout out Tom Mitchell, who's become a member. We have a member today, Joe.
Members everywhere.
Hasid here. So you can come and join us in Discord. If you want all of our members-only content like our battle report tonight live at 7:30, you'll need Gold tier. But you can just come and hang out in Discord first, get a feel for the place. Yeah. It's a wonderful place with beautiful people. So come and hang out. More members, the better. Joe loves a good member. So if you're a grey name, !member, or hit the little join button below. There's a multitude of tiers you can join us out, all with their own respective benefits. Whichever tier you pick, you get all the benefits of the tiers below you. That's right, people can be below you if you pick higher than Hasid tier.
Yeah.
More importantly, at Skull at the moment, you get all of our extra content that's going into the channel, including members-only battle reports on Tuesdays, and every other Saturday will be a members-only pre-recorded battle report now.
Yeah.
Excited. So get members in there, and all you grey names, become a member, or someone starts sniping.
Yeah.
Pew 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 pew.
pew. Right. But with love. Love bullets. Love sniping.
Where are you? I was like, we'd love. What would we love, Joe? What would we love?
Like the shooting with love.
Scott Costello, thank you so much for the donation, you hear. Thankfully, I wasn't fully invested when they nuked Elysians. I would have been livid if I'd already started the army.
I had 2,000 points of Elysians.
Did you?
Back in the day. I had, because at the time it was platoon, so command squad, and I had multiple command squads with supporting sentinels and heavy weapon teams and all that stuff, so sniper squad. I absolutely loved Elysian because they are part of my favourite Forge-Old book, the Amphibian Project, which is still the best Forge-Old book ever released to this day. And the Elysian range, I had Thunderbolts, I had Vultures. It was the best army ever. Sadly, I sold it because I basically put pictures up on someone on the internet was like, "That's a really nice army. How much would you sell it for?" And I was like, I don't know. I have to sell it for a lot. I wouldn't go for less than blah blah. And he was like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Oh, okay." and then they went off to the Magic. And then Games Workshop decided that they weren't going to support them anymore. And I was like, "Whew." Dodged a bullet there, but I would love to do Elysians again.
Imagine that person though who bought them all off of you and then they were nuked.
Yeah, but they are still a viable army to run. It's not. So my mate Richie, he's got a massive Elysian army. He bought loads of it. Some of it came from the Orient afterwards, but he just runs them as Scions now because they're still a deep striking guard elite army. All right. They're just very, very small. Yeah. They've all
much easier to hide.
Yeah, much easier to hide. Very, very tiny. The only downside is he has to run the heavy bolt teams and the missile launch teams as normal guard.
Yeah.
So if he either runs them as normal guard or he uses them as Scions. But I love that army. They're just so cool. And Elysians still get referenced in books today. There's still Elysian armies turning up in books and Elysian characters and stuff.
Yeah. Toasty Devil, if 90% of my Firstborn army is removed, I'm done. I don't blame you, and I think there'll be a few people that are in the same boat as you, but I hate to say this, I think it's coming.
Yeah, like my mate Dan, you know Dan.
I know Dan.
Dan from Lookout Sir.
Check out Lookout Sir.
He's got a really, really beautiful Blood Ravens army. Blood Ravens?
Yeah.
The ones from Dawn of War.
Yes.
Blood Ravens army, which he bought of someone else, which is stunning. And it's all like it's all Razorback from the days of Razorback spam,
Love it.
but it cost him a lot of money because it's just glorious. And he sometimes whips it out, puts it on the table.
Does he?
as a
And his
play.
army.
Yeah, whips it out as a little play, and it's beautiful to look at. And it's beautiful to play against, but I would be heartbroken for him if
Yeah.
it disappears.
It made me sad.
Yeah.
It made me sad. I will be very sad for you, Toasty Devil, and we'll be here for you. But honestly, I think it is coming. And I don't know if it's coming now. So I don't actually know. Like, an edition change is when it would happen. I feel like an edition change is the sort of thing that would be the catalyst to remove things like Firstborn from existence. And I say the change of edition, it might not specifically be when 10th edition drops, but when Space Marines get their codex.
You could have a civil war situation to kill. So basically, you had, obviously the Emperor had Custodes. More story time with Joe, right?
Here comes Tangent Joe again. I'm trying to get through the super chat.
And then he had the Thunder Warriors, right? He had the Thunder Legions, and they went off and did stuff. They were unreliable. So then he made the Space Marines, and the Space Marines killed all the Thunder Warriors, right? And then the idea of having the Custodes around is because they're better than Space Marines, and they can mess Space Marines up quite quickly. So you could see yourself in a position now where the Primaris Marines turn on the Firstborn.
You could.
Sack them off.
But I'm not talking. There's I reckon there's a million ways they could probably get rid of them narratively.
Yeah.
Right? I don't necessarily disagree that there's a lot of ways they could get rid of them narratively. What you're talking about in terms of a civil war, and Jeremy's he's just said this as I was about to say actually, is essentially another heresy. Yeah. Considering they're winding up the heresy from Black Library, I also wouldn't put past them to go, we need another big best-selling book series. Let's just make Civil War Part 2.
They could do like the Badab War too, because the Badab War was a great series from Forge World, where you brought in things like the Minotaurs, the Mantis Warriors, like the kind of like the Lost Founding, the Carcaradons.
I don't know. I think, like I said, there is a horrible feeling that they could go, hey, here's Heresy Part 2 in the 41st millennium. Please don't do that, Games Workshop. Please don't be that lazy. If you are going to come up with a way of removing, although I don't like the fact that they're going to nerf a huge or remove the rules for a person's army, I actually like the whole. We're not making a big thing about it, but no chapters are replenishing their Space Marines anymore that are Firstborn. Everybody's just building Primaris, and so over time, over the course of the next X number of years, there won't be any more Firstborn Marines. No. Like, I feel like that's narratively. It's an easier pill to swallow rather than, hey, here's Horus Heresy 2.0. Like, please don't do that. I don't want to see that. Anyway,
they might put restrictions in your army, like for instance, like Blood Angels, for instance, 0 to 1 Firstborn Death Company, 0 to 1 Firstborn Tactical Squad, 0 to 1 like Terminator Squad, which will break my soul because I absolutely love Terminator.
Thank you, Chris. Well, yeah, but you're doing Chaos Terminators, Joe. There's no restrictions because they did it sensibly, where they just scaled up the models.
There are restrictions because they made them worse than everyone else's.
It's a different video. Different video, Joe. Thanks,
Why
Chris.
are Chaos Space Marine Terminators worse than...
Chris says, shut the fuck up. Chris says, love you guys. Keep up the awesome work. Joe, there you go. Be positive again. No. War Master Will, 30% of my Krieg is now illegal. I'm not salty at all. Yeah, because they just nerfed so much of it. Not nerfed, they just removed the rules.
On the plus side, though, you could still run some of the Krieg units as new guard stuff.
We're going to finish the stream with one new member, Joe, just to warm you off. So
lame.
You won't get dinner today.
Oh, but yeah. What's the new tank? The Rogan Josh.
The Rogan Josh. Yeah.
You could run the Macariuses as the Rogan Josh. You can use the field guns as the new field guns.
Engineers is Scions.
Well, engineers have got rules, haven't they?
Not have they? I thought they removed the engineers' rules.
No, the engineers are still there. Because they go with the drill, didn't they?
Which did they remove then?
Grenadiers.
Grenadiers. So Grenadiers could be Kassakin, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's this is the difference. This is what I'm saying. A lot of the guard stuff, like Will's Cree, you probably could proxy them as another unit, and it just makes sense. Yeah, if all your Grenadiers are all Kassakin, then people know what they are.
Because the reason why people got salty about Grenadiers, because in the fluff, Grenadiers don't deep strike, whereas Scions do.
Now we've got Jeremy gifted membership of Walking Death gifted 5. By the way, chat, right?
BTW.
By the way, thank you for last Thursday. You know what they did last Thursday, didn't you, Joe?
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Joe's got a new car on the drive.
I've got a new car. It's got 4 wheels that turn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Engine
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
And I'm immensely grateful.
So I helped Joe with his car, and you lot made it a little bit less stingy for me. Not entirely less stingy, but a little bit less sticky.
And I've got a functioning car which drives better than any car I've ever had before.
Yeah.
So that's a bonus.
You didn't fear for your life coming here today?
No.
Which is a nice
only
change.
other drivers. But that's
Okay. James Hobbs, before we get to these gifted memberships, you're all amazing, thank you. James Hobbs, change the way toughness and strength interact, +1 to wound for each point of strength over the toughness, -1 to wound for each point of toughness over the strength, then return invuln save to only special use characters. I don't know if the changes to toughness and strength there, I don't know if that's easier or worse, but it depends. The thing is with strength and toughness, for us veteran 40k players,
it's pretty much the same.
It's almost never changed. For us veteran 40k players, when we used to have that big table that used to exist in the old 7th edition rulebook, the only change that really happened from 7th edition to 8th edition was, in 7th edition, if your strength was 4 and your enemy's toughness was 8, so if your strength was 4 and the enemy's toughness was 7, it was a 6+ to wound. But if your strength was 4 and your enemy's toughness was 8, you couldn't wound. And the only difference that happened in 8th edition was that 6+ then carried across for all of the higher toughnesses.
Yeah.
So if you had strength 1 targeting toughness 10, it's still 6+. Whereas in the old version of the game, you just didn't get a wound roll.
I did like the times when certain things couldn't wound other things.
So I miss that.
Yeah.
I miss an Imperial Knight being immune to las gunfire. Because I think an Imperial Knight should be immune to las gunfire. I would also argue that even a demon like a Bloodthirster, I think a Bloodthirster should be immune to las gunfire.
But then I suppose, in those days, it'd have to change. It means that the big units would also have to change, because in the old days, a Demon Prince only had 4 attacks, and that was terrifying.
Yeah.
So you couldn't hurt them, but they were less killy.
No, and I want to bring the killiness down. So you mentioned bolt action earlier, right?
Yeah.
One of the reasons why I adore bolt action is because comparatively with 40k, it's a lot less killy. So if you spend a lot of time in bolt action, painting your army and building your army and getting it nice and pretty, which is hard because the models are shit, if you spent a lot of time doing that and you put your army on the table, you're almost guaranteed to get to use it for 2 or 3 turns.
Yeah.
At the moment, you can go to tournaments. I've seen this happen, right? You can go to tournaments. You paint up a new army. Let's go pick a Raven Guard, right? I'll pick them on purpose because they're a bit pants, right? So you paint up 2,000 points of Raven Guard. You spend a lot of time edge highlighting all of your black, and you base them nice, and you do washes, and you make glows, and you put your Raven Guard on the army, your army on the table, sorry. And then after the first turn of playing against Votan or Tau. Okay, Tau. Let's say Tau. First turn playing against Tau, and you've picked up 500 points, and you've just put it on. Like you haven't even got to use it.
Yeah.
I would love to bring the killiness down in general, and there's some killiness things that I'd like to increase. So I miss the instant death rule. I love the instant death rule. I'm a strength 10 weapon shooting at your toughness 4 character. Now, because I'm more than double your toughness, if I do successfully wound you and you fail your save, you're just dead.
Yeah.
Because I've hit you with a fucking tank-killing cannon.
That's what made cool characters really good, because like named characters had Eternal Warrior, which meant they couldn't be one-shot killed. But that's what made them fun. What's going on?
Just some comments I'll get to. That's amazing. First of all, thank you, Jeremy, for the gifted membership. Walking Dead for the 5, Big Pappy Hit Game for the 1, and Chaotic Failure dropping 10 gifted memberships.
Heroes.
You're all amazing.
So
people.
18 new people to come and watch me and you tonight.
Yeah, which will be fun. Yeah, Harlequins versus Black Legion. So thank you, people. If you have been gifted membership, !Discord, come and join us in the Great Hall. Make sure you tune in tonight for our members-only content. You can go back and watch all of our previous members-only content, including our pre-recorded battle report from Saturday. We'll get to your tea in just a moment.
I just looked at it and I was like, oh.
We'll get to your tea in just a moment. But some people, which is some amazing comments. So first of all, Weeman's very sad that there's no Joped. I was fully behind the plan for a Joped. I would have much rather used the money that I gave to Joe for a CBT license, a helmet, and a moped, because I think it would be hilarious.
But I can't drive my family around.
Joe would rather have had a car.
Yeah.
I was behind Team Joped, but this wasn't happening. And then someone who has clearly been watching our Call of Duty streams on the other channel, link is in the video description below, says, where is it? Steve, don't let Joe drive his car on DMZ, please.
Oh.
So
like I drive on.
we have seen the way you drive cars on video games, and if that is
Yeah,
reflective
but you
of
don't
real
need
life,
to use roads in Call of
if that
Duty.
is reflective of real life, it is no surprise that you go through cars like underpants.
Yeah, but then like I said, you don't use fuel when you're flying through the air.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Yeah, absolutely. Which is fucking incredible, right? So, pull pistols, pew pew, tank explodes. Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like pistols killing tanks. That should only ever happen in Saving Private Ryan.
Like when you charge, like at no point should 10 guardsmen be able to run into a dreadnought.
No.
Do any damage to it.
No. If you've got 10 guardsmen near something like a dreadnought, your logical choice should only ever be to run away.
Yeah.
Only ever.
Like, you can run them in, but because this is why back in the day things like frag and crack grenades are good. Like, my Space Marines have got crack grenades. I could do a whole point of damage to your Rhino.
A whole point of damage, not a whole point, a whole point of damage.
A whole point of damage, or your dreadnought.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah.
It's still going to, like, because a dreadnought had 4 hull points.
It did.
So you'd have to hit.
Or was it 3?
3, because of Land Raider have 4.
Land Raider had 4, yeah.
But then you could only hit the dreadnought on the front armour because it's constantly like twisting and turning to punch you. Whereas if you ran up to a Rhino, you always hit it on the rear armour because it's a tank with a Stormbolter.
The wizard says the guard hate. Lol, it's not guard hate. Joe and I both love guard.
Yeah.
Guard is one of my favourite factions in 40k. My favourite factions are very, very simple. They're Eldar, they're guard, they're World Eaters.
But like, I don't waste time firing guardsmen at a Rhino. I know I could do 2 to maybe like we had a game fighting. I had a 10-man squad of guardsmen fighting a Rhino for a couple.
You
of days.
say that.
I rolled.
But if you had a squad of 10 Scions or a squad of 10 Kazakin, and you're looking at a Rhino or a Dreadnought,
It's just gone.
and you spend 2 CP, you've deleted it.
Yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
No.
It shouldn't be allowed to
The
happen.
melter guns in the squad, because I miss days when melter guns, anti-tank weapons were anti-tank weapons.
Yes.
And anti-infantry weapons are anti-infantry.
Yeah, and now weight of fire is anti-everything.
And there was a very clear distinction. That's why which probably plays into the primaris thing actually quite a lot. So what you found near the end of competitive 7th edition was that a lot of players were already just taking one of like all the same in the squad.
Mm-hmm.
To make it more streamlined, make it faster rolling, squads were more dedicated. Why take a 10-man squad with 1 melter gun in it? Because you could fire the melter gun at a tank, because you can only charge what you shoot at, basically. So you'd fire a melter gun at a tank, and then you've got 4 guys just stood there.
I kind of like
just ablative wounds for a melter gun.
I kind of like that as well. I kind of like you could only charge what you shot at.
But
if
you killed what you shot at, you couldn't charge.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
But the people already going. That's why when I was playing in 7th edition, like I was like, an infantry squad is an anti-infantry squad. I've got dedicated anti-tank squads, and that's what they're going to be shooting at and dealing with. My infantry have a very specific role in my army.
Yeah.
So I think that's what Games Workshop kind of went with, kind of Primaris range. If everyone in the unit has the same gun, that unit has a very specific job to do, right?
Yeah.
So
Ear Elephant says, put Firstborn in a PDF, keep them usable, but make it clear they're not going to be in the Space Marine Codex or supported moving forward. This is now where I would go. Right, we're going to wrap this stream up very, very quickly because we need to start getting ready for this evening. I know it seems mental, but actually from 3 o'clock we'll have to continuously work to get ready for this evening at 7:30, plus having dinner, etc. If you haven't already, smash the like button. Thank you to everybody who's gifted memberships. You're all amazing. Now we're going to get to where I was going to go. We've rambled a lot, and this is us. This is what we do. I would, if I was Games Workshop and I wanted to not piss people off, I'd take everything Firstborn out of the Space Marine Codex, I'd put it on a PDF codex that's downloadable for free. I wouldn't Legends it to start with. And I would say, hey, for 10th edition, you can have free Firstborn rules for your army for the whole of 10th edition. After 10th edition, we're no longer going to support rules. So 11th edition, you won't have a PDF. There'll then be Legends. You can't use them anymore, right? That's how I would do it personally.
how long? When did 8th edition come
Editions
out?
are typically 3 years at the moment.
So Primaris have been out now for 6 years.
Nearly, yes. I think editions are roughly 3 years, roughly.
Maybe
speaking.
even longer than that. Right, 6. Yeah, so about 6 years. So, like, people have had enough time.
So when I left the army and came back down here, we were still playing 7th edition on Visicast. That was 2014, 2015. I think 2016, 2017, 8th edition came out.
Yeah.
I think 16, might
So
be 17.
it's been a long time.
It's been quite a while.
Like,
yeah.
So by the end, so assuming it's 3-4 years, so by the end of 10th edition, it would have been 10 years since Primaris Marines came about.
Cole's made an important distinction, by the way, which is very important if you do the PDF plan. Stop selling them in 10th as well. Yeah. You're still supporting your PDFs, but we're going to stop selling them.
Yeah.
So then you don't have that. You have 3 years, if 10th edition is the same as 9th edition, you have 3 years to play your Firstborn Marines with your PDF, but we're not selling you any more. Yeah. So you can't buy a set of Marines that are then a week later no longer supported. Like, that's the way I think they should do it. Yeah. And be really open with the audience. This is what we're doing.
Yeah, because you've got to think, like, that's 10 years of Primaris Marines and Firstborn, right? And Horus Heresy.
And Heresy, yeah.
And Heresy. So after that, like Games Workshop have to be, from a business point of view and a stockist point of view, right? Like, the amount of space that both Firstborn and Primaris will probably take up by the end of 10th edition, if they kept them around, would be mad. Especially for that one guy who still wants Firstborn.
Hey, it's that one guy.
Like Firstborn Blood Angels, for instance.
Okay.
Like, he's the only... I love box dreadnoughts for, like because they're around when I first started playing, right? I'm not buying them, though. I love them. I think they're amazing. If I could get hold of box dreadnoughts now, I would get hold of the Forge World ones, which are a bit more posable and they had cooler arms and stuff. Like the Legion-specific ones.
You're a sucker for shit models, you are.
I would get those just because they're a bit more posable, because all box dreadnoughts now are this. There's 2 poses. That way, and then those are your poses for box dreadnoughts.
I mean, that's
right?
slightly more than 2 poses.
Was sideways, arms up, sideways, arms down, kind of thing.
That's 2.
And then the other way, arms up, or down. It's like it's not very exciting. I love them. I think they're brilliant. If I want 3 of them for my Black Legion.
Yeah, okay.
Because Hellbrutes are great, but.
Right, Holio says, Satty boy, have to pick up the kids. See you later. Come and hang out with us later. Thank you so much, you hero. It's nearly 5 to 3. We'll be killing it at 3 o'clock. Cornet Ed's coming in with a snipe. So JL Jones in chat, right? If any of you were thinking about gifting in memberships, Mr. Jones in chat says, "Gutted I missed out on the gifted memberships. Was hoping to catch the stream this evening. Sorry, I'm a poor scab." I mean, it's only £5, Mr. Jones, a month. But Mr. Jones, if he can't afford £5, right?
What did Boris Johnson say?
Just buy a new kettle.
Buy a new kettle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Buy less Costa coffee. Buy less Starbucks coffee, unless you're already not buying them, in which case...
He said, with the rising... This is how great... Well, I don't want to go into politics in the UK. Like, we try and avoid politics, but with the rising cost of energy in the UK, his solution was buy a new kettle. Because if you have an old kettle, it probably uses more energy. Yeah. And over the course of 5 years, you'll save like £10.
Yeah. Or just take the money away from another channel that you're giving money to. Just give it to us. It's like, stop giving Matt Vowrick money. Give it to us.
I mean, he's got plenty right now.
Yeah, he's doing all right. He's doing fine. He's got a pretty good job outside.
So Cornet Ed gifted a membership to try and snipe him and missed but hit Biggie. Starius is coming with a big 5. It hasn't shown us at the moment who's got it. He's got one!
He's got one!
He's got one! You can come and hang out tonight. Starius, you're a legend.
Also, right, on my Dreadnought thing, right, who's buying a Dreadnought, right, when that beautiful beast is coming out? The game's like the double fist Furioso Redemptor Dreadnought, which people have been crying out. Before that was announced, I've seen people online who have bought 2 Redemptor Dreadnoughts to convert it into 2-hand Dreadnought.
Are you done talking about Dreadnoughts? No.
I love Dreadnoughts.
Right.
I just want Primaris Terminals now, but make them look good. Not terrible.
Big shout out, Starius, for getting that that membership for JL Jones. You're a hero, Starius. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. Right. So tonight we're going to be playing Harlequins versus Black Legion. Right. Yeah. Tempest. We need to keep it simple because Luce is producing.
Oh yeah, keep it.
So I don't want to overcomplicate scoreboards for Luce because she'll get confused. So we'll probably have to use Tempest, not ask her to update the cards, and just tell her what points to put in what boxes. I think it's the easiest way.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Yes.
This isn't because I'm actually really, really fucking enjoying playing competitively.
We were like, we'll just do competitive once a month.
But the
maybe
thing
once every
is,
2
so
months.
the reason, okay, so very, very, very quick tangent. The reason why I didn't want to do competitive week in, week out is because I watch a lot of other stream channels that stream competitive and it's just fucking boring. But actually, I feel like because of who we are, me, you, Paddy, Brom, etc., it's actually a little bit more entertaining because we're quite chilled with it and we're just having fun. So I'm actually really enjoying playing it and the challenge of playing it and being undefeated with world eaters. So tonight we're going to have to either go, we could do Eternal War. We could go back to like open war cards, Joe.
We could do that, would simplify things even more.
Really
wouldn't it?
simplify things for these.
What's the narrative Black Legion Harlequins game?
But I think we'll probably do, I think because of the score, but we'll probably stick to Tempest of War.
Yeah.
It'd be easier that way, right? So hang out with us later. Like I said, massive shout out, Starius, you hero, for getting Jonesy in. Legend. We have got an exclamation mark snipe me from Eric Johnson as well, who also wants to come hang out tonight. Like, I honestly believe, if you've been gifted a membership, make sure you use all of your perks. I honestly believe that if you watch the members only content, you hang out on Discord, you spend time chatting to people, every single one of you will think this $4.99 is actually really worth it. Like, I believe it's really worth it. It's great value. It's the typical price of entry for extra content on YouTube anyway, but we've got an incredible community in the Great Hall of people that I'm very, very proud of.
Yeah.
So,
Some of them very weird, but we do love them nonetheless.
Thank you to everybody who's super chatted today. Thank you to everybody who's joined us. We're at 300 people for a while, you legends. Only 172 likes so far. So before you go, smash that like button for us. If you've watched this on demand and you've watched it back and you're not a subscriber, make sure you smash that subscribe button for us and hit that bell notification icon if you want to be notified every single time we go live in the future or every time we drop a new video, because we're starting to drop pre-recorded battle reports on Saturdays. At the moment, this is a trial for the next month or two to see if members like the extra members only content and to see if actually bringing out more battle reports will increase our subscriber growth. So we're on a trial. I'm not going to promise it's going to carry on forever. We're going to try and do it for a month or two and see where we land with it.
Yeah.
Right? But thank you to everybody who joined us, who joined in chat, who talked. You're amazing, amazing people. If you are one of our beautiful members at Skull Tier or above, you will come and hang out with us, or you'll be able to come out with us. Not you will hang out with us. You'll be able to come hang out with us at 7:30 tonight for Harlequins versus Black Legion, 2,000 points. Tomorrow we have another stream at 9 p.m, the 40k show. Thursday is another game where Brom comes back to the channel. We'll probably play competitive on that one at 7:30. Don't know who's playing that yet against Brom. We'll see.
Has Brom been World Eaters yet?
He hasn't been World Eaters yet. He's been avoiding. No, he was World Eaters once with Votan. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was
Maybe
interesting.
we should put him on the deck.
Thank you for joining us. We hope to see you this evening. Otherwise, we'll see you. Hang on, there we go. In the next one.
The next one. Bye. Have a wonderful time.